Hi guys, Michael Abayomi here. So Sony just took the wraps off the PS5 Pro after what has felt like months or even years of speculation and rumors and whatnot. And the first thing that everybody seems to be talking about after the presentation was the price points. So a lot of us are still dealing with the sticker shock of seeing that $700 price point right next to the console, as well as the fact that this doesn't even account for the added accessories that you're going to need, because the console is a digital only edition, meaning that if you have physical games you want to play, you have to put down an additional $80 to get the detachable disc drive. So all in all, this is looking like it's going to cost something north of $800 when all is said and done, which is just ridiculous when you think about it. Especially when you think of the fact that in the previous generation, the PS4 Pro had retailed for $400, which incidentally was the same launch price for the PS4 when the base edition initially came out in 2013. But regarding the new console itself, it is worth going over just some of the new features it claims to offer. Most of it is pretty much what you expect from what is now becoming the traditional mid-gen refresh. So obviously the main focus is on additional graphical processing, and one of the main selling points was the fact that gamers will no longer have to select between a fidelity and a performance mode, because all games will pretty much run at the highest possible frame rate with maxed out graphic settings. Or at least that's the impression I got from the presentation I was given, because they showed a bunch of side-by-sides with the PS5 base model running in both modes, as well as the new PS5 Pro showing those games with all the bells and whistles. But if I'm being honest, there was barely any noticeable difference between the PS5 Pro and the base PS5, because we have actually gotten to that point now where it is very hard to tell any tangible increases in fidelity when you look at the games between these generations. It was kind of the same thing when we went from the PS4 to the PS5, but now I feel that margin is even reduced further. So we've gotten to the point where the laws of diminishing returns have now set in, because right now, to the layman, or at least judging by what we could see through the live stream that was compressed and all of that, there just wasn't any noticeable difference. And this is actually going to be a major concern for anybody that was hoping to be wowed by the presentation that was put up, as it was just clear that there was no real advantage that could be tangibly seen or tactically felt. All of which has pretty much led me to the conclusion that this current generation with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, that the generation pretty much started a little too early than it should have. Because when we look at it from 2020 to now, we're now 4 years into the generation, and it still doesn't really feel like we've gotten any noticeable jump between the games that we're getting now and the games that we were getting on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Yes, of course, I know that one of the big selling points of the new consoles were the faster SSDs and improved load times, but on a gaming level, on the actual sitting out to play the game and looking at the frame rates and the graphical fidelity on display, on that level, it is just not a justification to have had these consoles when we had them back then. And I guess most of that was due to the fact that the previous generation had these mid-gen refreshes that shortened the gap between that base PS4 and the base PS5 even further. Because right now it just feels like all the improvements that we've gotten are very incremental, and once again the laws of diminishing returns have pretty much made it next to impossible to be able to tangibly see any real improvements. And when you now look at a console like the PS5 Pro and its specs and its main selling points of not having to make gamers choose between graphics, performance and fidelity, it is just clear that this is where the generation should have started in the first place. You can imagine having the jump from something like the PS4 Pro to what the PS5 Pro is now offering. That might have felt a bit more like a substantial jump, but as it is now, it just feels like we rushed into this generation a bit too early, and because of that, the games that we're actually getting are not really doing a good job of justifying any of it. I mean, most of the games that are even coming out on the PS5 have been cross-gen games, and it doesn't look like this will be changing anytime soon, because even up to next year and even beyond, we're still getting a lot of games coming to the PS4. And yes, I also understand that this is because the PS4 has a very sizable install base, and a lot of publishers and game developers want to capitalize on that overall reach. But still, like, it just feels like this generation has not done enough to warrant jumping on board, which is one of the reasons why I am yet to get a PS5 and one of the reasons why I had waited this long to see what the PS5 Pro would offer. But now that the cat is out of the bag, it is looking like there's no real selling point. There's nothing that seems like a system seller that is going to compel you to get the PS5 Pro. Most of the speculation online is looking forward to games like the forthcoming GTA 6. But as far as we know, that game might not arrive anytime soon because there are already rumors that it might even get delayed further. So instead of the 2025 release date that is being expected, we might not get it to 2026 or even beyond. So it just feels like there's no real selling points till then, or even God knows when. Like, it just feels like this whole generation as a whole hasn't really done a good job of justifying itself. Then of course we also have the fact that most of all these games that are coming out on these consoles are no longer staying as console exclusives, as even Sony has recently adopted the same philosophy as Microsoft by porting most of their AAA games over to the PC, which of course I'm not against, as I'm a PC gamer primarily. But at the same time, this kind of lessens the need to have to buy a console, where you know that a game like Ratchet and Clank, no matter how good it looks and how much of a selling point it seems to be, would eventually be making its way over to PC. So all you have to do is just wait a bit. So it kind of doesn't help to drive the sale of those consoles themselves. Then of course the fact that this new PS5 Pro with all the needed accessories, when all is said and done, is going to cost $800 plus. That fact pretty much makes getting such a console seem a bit ridiculous when you consider the fact that you can actually get entry-level or mid-range laptops within the $900 to $1,000 price point, and they're going to pretty much play most of all these games that we're getting on this console anyway. So it just makes the whole console seem kind of pointless, or at least less impactful. So it remains to be seen if Sony would do a better job of selling this PS5 Pro in the coming months, because right now we really need to see games that justify the existence of this new console beyond just having prettier graphics in performance mode. We really need games that looked like they would have been impossible to make. But of course we know, because of the nature of mid-gen refreshes, that whatever games that are coming out still need to be able to function on the base consoles. So once again, it just feels like this console generation has been a bit of a letdown. But I'll still wait and see if, as we approach the later years of the generation, if anything remarkable truly starts to come out, or if developers find better ways to make good use of the current hardware. Anyway, these are just my thoughts about the PS5 Pro. What do you think about the new console? Are you on board with getting a new one, or are you going to sit this one out? Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed watching this discussion, and to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more discussions like this in the future. And until the next one, this is Michael signing off.